there's a kind of quiet ache that many men carry but rarely speak of. It doesn't shout. It just lingers in the background of daily life. It shows up when you get out of bed in the morning and realize you didn't sleep deeply. Again, it's there when you look in the mirror and feel like someone else is staring back at you. Someone slower, someone dimmer than the man you remember being. And for some men, it shows up in the silence between them and their wife, or in the heaviness of not wanting to try anymore. Not in life, not in love, not in their own body. I remember a patient of mine, we'll call him Ray. Ray was 68, a retired welder, a good man. He walked into my office, sat down heavily, and said, "Doc, I just don't feel like a man anymore. And I don't know how to say that without sounding weak." He didn't sound weak to me. He sounded tired. Tired of the half-living that so many men accept once they pass 60. I'm Dr. Thomas Leighton. I've listened to retired soldiers, factory workers, teachers, fathers, grandfathers, men who gave their best years to others, and woke up one day wondering what was left for themselves. And I want to say something clearly before we go any further. You are not broken. Your strength, the deep kind, might feel buried, but it's not gone. And sometimes, it's something very small that helps you find your way back. If this message speaks to you, type 1. If you're unsure, type 0. Either way, thank you for listening. Now, what if I told you that strength, circulation, even desire can begin to return not through a prescription, but through something you've likely walked past 100 times? A spice. No hype, no promise of overnight miracles, just an old-world remedy backed now by science that can start shifting the way your body feels in less than 60 seconds. It's called clove. You may have used it to flavor a stew, or left it sitting forgotten in the back of your pantry. But inside each dried bud of clove is a compound that's quietly remarkable. It's called eugenol. And this one substance released when you slowly chew a clove can set off a chain reaction in your body. Your blood vessels start to open. Your breath slows. Your circulation softens and widens, especially in the places where so many men experience loss. And what I want you to hear is that this isn't just old wives' medicine. Eugenol is a vasodilator. That means it helps your blood vessels relax and expand. It works a lot like nitric oxide, the very same chemical those little blue pills try to mimic. But this is natural, gentle, and for many men, longer lasting. You see, after 60, your vessels, especially the ones that supply blood to your pelvis, begin to stiffen. They narrow. They resist pressure. And that resistance quietly becomes the reason so many men lose their drive, their response, their confidence. But eugenol doesn't force the system. It invites it. It whispers to your arteries, "You still remember how to do this." Many of my patients report something subtle, but undeniable. A warm sensation spreading through the body within minutes of chewing. Not heat, warmth, a return. And in that warmth, a second thing begins to shift, something even harder to measure than blood flow. Stress. Now, I don't just mean the kind you can name. Not the bills, not the job, not even the aches in your back. I mean the kind that sits beneath it all. The stress of feeling like you're losing yourself. I've had men 60, 70, even 80 years old look me in the eye and say, "Doc, I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm still here, but it's like my edge, my spirit, it's just dulled." They weren't talking about erections. They were talking about identity, about masculinity, about not feeling grounded in their own skin. And here's the hard truth. Chronic stress steals testosterone. It floods your system with cortisol, a hormone meant to protect you for a moment, but harmful when it lingers for years. Cortisol and testosterone can't thrive together. When one rises, the other falls. And in today's world, most men are running on empty not because their bodies can't produce testosterone anymore, but because they're too inflamed, too tense, too worn down to make room for it. That's why clove, and its natural companion beta-caryophyllene, matter. That compound speaks to your brain. It sends a signal that says, "You're safe now. You can rest. You don't have to fight so hard." And when that signal gets through, your chest softens, your breath deepens, and slowly, over days, over weeks, your testosterone begins to rise again. naturally. Not from force, but from release. This isn't theory. This is lived experience. I've seen it in men who thought they were done. One man, 72 years old, came back after trying the clove method for just a week. He said, "Doc, I don't know what's happening, but I woke up with morning wood for the first time in years. I laughed out loud. I felt proud." That's what I want for you. Not just an erection, but that flicker of pride, that sense of being home again, in your body. And if you're curious how to begin, we'll walk through the simple method next, how to chew clove the right way, when to do it, and what to expect in the first few days. But first, if this message is helping you see yourself or your health a little differently, I invite you to subscribe. That way, you won't miss any future insights made just for men like you. So, how do you do it? How do you take this small, sharp little bud called a clove and turn it into something that helps your body feel alive again? It starts with a quiet ritual, simple, grounded, and respectful. You don't rush it. You don't chew like you're in a hurry. You give it a minute, just 1 minute, and let the process unfold. I tell my patients, take 2, maybe 3 whole dried cloves. Not powder, not capsules, just the real thing. Place them toward the back of your mouth, where your molars are strongest, and gently bite down until they crack open. Now stop. Let that oil coat your tongue. Let the bitterness rise and spread. That's eugenol entering your bloodstream, and your body, if it's been waiting for this, will know what to do. Stay still. Breathe through your nose. For the first 30 seconds, don't chew, just hold. Let your saliva mix with the oil. Feel the warmth begin to spread. Some men say it's sharp. Some say it's comforting. I say, whatever you feel, pay attention to it. That's your body remembering. Then, after 30 seconds, begin to chew, slowly. Not to crush, not to grind, just enough to open the rest of the oils. Work them through. Let them sit under your tongue, around your gums. You can spit the remnants out or swallow them. That part doesn't matter much. What matters is the slowness, the awareness, the choice to stay connected. Now, when should you do this? That part matters more than most men realize. You see, your body isn't just a machine. It runs on rhythm, hormones, blood flow, nervous system response. They all dance together. And the timing of this little ritual can help tune that system again. For most men, I recommend the evening. Chewing your cloves about 1 hour before bed helps do 2 things. It softens your nervous system, making it easier to fall into deep sleep. And it primes your body to produce testosterone because the majority of testosterone isn't made in the gym. It's made while you sleep. But that's not the only option. Some men prefer to chew their cloves in the morning, especially on an empty stomach. That creates a soft alertness, not jittery, not forced. It opens circulation just enough to help you feel present, especially helpful before a walk, or light activity, or even intimacy. And that's another use I often recommend chewing 30 to 45 minutes before intimacy. Not to perform, not to chase an outcome, but to ground yourself, to increase presence, to feel more there. Over time, daily use builds on itself. Not in some explosive way, but like slowly stoking a fire that's been smoldering for too long. That said, even the best ritual can be sabotaged by one thing. Something men rarely suspect. A force more damaging than bad food, more limiting than age. Chronique, silence stress. I've sat with men who were doing all the right things, walking every morning, eating well, taking their vitamins, and still they'd say, "Doc, I just don't feel like myself." So I'd ask gently, "How's your stress?" And you know what usually followed? Silence. A deep breath. Then, the real truth. Worries about money, fears about health, distance from their partner, loneliness they never admitted to their kids. Stress sits in a man's chest like a stone, and over time, it squeezes out the signals your body needs to thrive. You see, stress raises cortisol, and cortisol is like a blanket over your hormone system. It blocks the signals that create testosterone. It narrows your blood vessels. It tightens your breathing. It dulls your desire. And you can't outwalk it. You can't outlift it. You can't man up through it. What you can do is soften your system enough to let it go. That's where clove comes back in, not just for blood flow, but for stress relief. Because inside every clove is another natural compound, beta-caryophyllin. And this little molecule has a unique gift. It binds to a part of your brain that governs stress, and when it locks in, your body feels safe. Not high, not sedated, just gently grounded. Within minutes, many men report a kind of release, like something's unclenched in their chest, like the world doesn't feel quite so heavy. And that, my friend, is what allows testosterone to rise again. Not a pill, not a product, but permission from your nervous system to recover. Over time, these small releases accumulate. Your breath deepens, your mornings shift. You might even notice you're less irritable with your spouse, more open with your friends, more clear when you look in the mirror. And then another gift shows up. Sleep. I can't count how many times I've sat across from a man who said, "I'm doing everything right, but I'm still exhausted." And every time I ask about sleep, because if your sleep is shallow, broken, or restless, your hormones won't come back. No matter how much clove you chew, no matter how many supplements you take. Sleep is when healing happens, when testosterone is restored, when your immune system repairs, when your confidence, the deep cellular kind, is rebuilt. And for so many men, chewing cloves in the evening has quietly, steadily changed the game. They fall asleep easier. They stay asleep longer. They wake up feeling clearer, and yes, often with the kind of morning presence they haven't felt in years. Because, again, this is not magic. This is your body remembering what it was made to do once the noise, tension, and inflammation are cleared. And there's one more piece we need to talk about, something most men never expect. Your mouth. Because believe it or not, your gums may be sabotaging your strength more than you realize. We'll go there next. There's something quietly powerful about a man who starts to feel his body return to him, not in some grand way, but in the quiet, everyday moments most people miss. A steady breath in the morning, a calmness in his chest at night, a sense of being more present not just with his partner, but with himself. One man told me after about a month of chewing cloves nightly, he woke up and felt, in his own words, settled. Not excited, not anxious, just here, in his body, in his skin. He said, "Doc, I didn't know how far I drifted until I felt what it was like to come back." That's the kind of strength I wish more men could feel. Not the strength of big muscles or perfect performance, but the strength of connection, of clarity, of quiet dignity. And it all starts with something as small and as overlooked as a dried spice that's likely been sitting in the back of your cupboard for years. Clove isn't a miracle, but when you pair it with attention, intention, and consistency, it becomes something sacred. Because healing after 60 isn't about shortcuts. It's about listening. It's about returning. And if you've been following this clove method for even just a few days now, you may already be noticing that something subtle is beginning to change. A bit more drive to move, a little less irritation around the edges, or even that rare and welcome sign, the return of morning wood. Now, some men hear that and chuckle like boys again, but I've sat across from many of those same men when their eyes welled up with tears. Not because of the erection itself, but because of what it represented. They weren't done yet. Not done being men, not done being partners, not done being worthy of desire or of desiring. If you've ever questioned whether your body still remembers, let this be your proof. It does. Now, let's talk about something we rarely speak about plainly. How to hold on to this progress, not just for a week or a month, but year after year. Because here's the truth, most health advice won't tell you. Your body doesn't want a perfect man. It wants a patient one. And when it comes to this clove practice, patience means staying consistent, even on the days you don't feel like anything is happening. Remember, some of the most important shifts happen quietly. In the bloodstream, in the nervous system, in the hormones that regulate your sleep, your desire, your energy. So even if one morning feels like a setback, even if your mind starts whispering doubts, I invite you to stay with it. Let the habit carry you forward. The clove itself may seem simple, but what you're really practicing is respect. Respect for your circulation, for your stress levels, for your gums, your sleep, your manhood. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on something a bit unexpected, something many men never consider when trying to regain their strength: your mouth. You see, in all my years of urology, I've learned to look beyond the obvious. And one of the most quietly destructive issues I've seen is chronic gum disease, not because it hurts, but because it silently inflames the bloodstream. Your gums are one of the fastest ways bacteria can sneak into the rest of your body. And once inside, that bacteria causes inflammation, which tightens your blood vessels, raises your blood pressure, and interferes with your body's ability to generate nitric oxide. In plain terms, your erections suffer, your heart has to work harder, and your brain, your focus, your energy, all begin to dull. Now here's where cloves shine yet again. Clove oil contains powerful antibacterial compounds, especially eugenol, that target harmful bacteria in the mouth. So when you chew the clove slowly, allowing it to circulate through your saliva, you're doing far more than helping blood flow. You're detoxifying, you're defending, you're cleaning the very channel that leads to your circulatory system and protecting one of the last sacred systems still working in your favor. That's not natural health. That's just biology, finally working with you instead of against you. So what can you expect over the next few weeks? Based on what I've seen in my own patients. In the first week, you may notice warmer hands and feet. Your sleep may begin to deepen, even if only a little. And you might feel more grounded, less on edge, more here. By week 2, your morning energy may rise. You might even find your desire awakening, not out of nowhere, but like an old friend tapping on your shoulder. It's not aggressive. It's not teenage. It's appropriate. Welcome. Yours. By week 4, many men tell me they begin to feel like themselves again. Not in a dramatic way, but in how they show up with their wives, their routines, their eyes. There's a stillness that returns, a steadiness. And that is when the clove becomes more than a practice. It becomes a ritual, something sacred, something that reminds you, this body is still alive. It still deserves care. It still knows how to respond when you give it the chance. And if you take nothing else from this message, let it be this: you are not too old. You are not too far gone. And your masculinity, your inner current of confidence and calm, is not something that died. It simply went quiet. It waited. And now, with patience, it returns. If this message touched something in you, I invite you to pass it on, not loudly, but quietly, as men often do. And if you've already begun this journey, let yourself continue not with pressure, but with presence. Because sometimes the most powerful thing a man can do is simply begin again.